Alright, today we are going to learn how to factor the sum or difference of two perfect cubes. And it's really quite simple, so I don't think you'll have a problem with it. There's one little thing though. It is useful to have in the front of your brain the first several perfect cubes that exist in the world. For example, I'm sure you know that 1 to the third power is 1, because 1 times 1 times 1. But what about 2 to the third power? Alright, that's 8. 3 to the third power is 27. 3 times 3 times 3. Alright, 4 to the third power is 64. 5 to the third power is 125. Let's do a few more. 6 to the third power is 216. Now, you don't have to memorize these. It helps a little the more of them you know, but for example, I can just use the calculator quickly. So 6 to the third power, 7 to the third power, alright, is 343. Okay, now if I really want to get clever, I can use the table feature of my calculator if I really want to be clever about it. And I can just set this equal to x to the third power. Okay, where do we leave off? Alright, we were at about 7. Okay, so there's our 343. Okay, but 8 to the third power is 512. 9 to the third power is 729. And 10 to the third power is 1000. So those are the first 10 perfect cubes. And these are going to show up over and over again in the problems that we're about to do. So we'll refer back to that list. Now, this is the sum of two perfect cubes. Notice the 125. You see that's right here on this list. So the thing that we're going to use over and over again is the idea that the root of 125 is 5, the cube root. It's where the 125 comes from. So what's going to happen is when you factor the sum of two cubes, it's always going to factor as a binomial, you know, a 2-piece, and then a trinomial, a 3-piece. It's always going to be a binomial and a trinomial. Now the binomial is just going to be, it's going to be the root of both of these. Alright, so x to the third power comes from x, and 125 comes from cubing 5. Alright, so it's just the root. So that's where the binomial comes from. Next, I always like to do the beginning and the end of this trinomial, alright? Because this trinomial is going to have basically a beginning, an end, and a middle. Alright, but right now it's time for the beginning and end. The beginning and end come from just squaring these. So if I take this x and I square it, then I'm going to get x squared. If I take the 5 and I square it, I'm going to get positive 25. Alright, so just square these, and then there you have it. Let's see. Okay, now for the middle, you multiply these two together. Okay, so I'm just going to multiply. If I multiply these two together, I'm going to get 5x. And the only thing is, it's always going to be the opposite sign. So if this is positive, it's going to be negative. So I just multiply these two together, and it's going to be opposite sign. And that's it. That's how you do it. Now, this trinomial is never going to be factorable, so you don't need to worry about it. So that's it. That is how you factor the sum or difference of two cubes. Now, let's practice. Obviously, as I get going, I'm going to have to go much faster because we have 24 problems to do. But when I first start out, I like to go slow. So again, it's the sum of two cubes. I know it's going to be a binomial times a trinomial. The binomial, again, is just going to come from the roots of these. So that's going to be a plus 4. All right, because remember, 64 is 4 to the third power. Now remember that I can get my beginning and end, all right, come next. And because they come from squaring these. So that's going to be a squared and plus 16. All right, and then there's the middle. And the middle comes from multiplying these two together. So that'll just be 4a, except it'll be the opposite sign. So that's it. Okay. Number 3. Wait a minute. Oh. I was about to say, that looks really familiar. It's almost the same, except for the minus. So, binomial, trinomial. The binomial is just going to be x minus 4. If I square these, I get x squared plus 16. This will always be positive, since a negative times a negative is positive. And then for the middle, I multiply them together, and I get 4x, but it'll be the opposite sign, so positive. All right, number 4. Let me just re-emphasize to you guys, you should not be watching this with a pencil or a pen in your hand. If you have a pencil or pen in your hand right now, put it away. All right? Do these problems yourself. And then if you need to, if you're getting the wrong answer, come back and watch the video. But watch the video and then go do it yourself. Do not copy off me. So let's see. This will be u plus 2. Where'd the 2 come from? Well, 8 is 2 to the third power, so the 2 is the root. If I square these, I'm going to get u squared and positive 4. I just squared these. If I multiply these, I'm going to get 2u. And it'll be the opposite sign. So that's number 4. All right, number 5. Binomial and trinomial. First, the roots of these, so I will have x minus 3. All right, 27 is 3 to the third power. If I square these, I get x squared and positive 9. If I multiply them, I get 3x, and I do the opposite sign. Number 6, binomial, trinomial. The root of 125 is 5, so this will be 5 minus x. If I square these, that'll be 25, and that'll be positive x squared. If I multiply these, I'm going to get 5x, and I will do the opposite sign. So that's number 6. Number 7, binomial and a trinomial. The root of 1 is just 1. Right? Bam. So I'm going to have 1 minus a for my binomial. Square them, and I get 1, and then plus a squared. If I multiply them, that would be 1a, or just a. And I need the opposite sign, so it'll be plus a. So there's number 7. Number 8, binomial, trinomial. So it'll be a plus 5, those are the roots. Square them, and I get a squared and positive 25. Multiply them, and I get 5a, opposite sign, so negative 5a. Number 9. All right, binomial, trinomial. So this will be x plus 3. Square them, I get x squared and positive 9. Multiply them, and I get 3x, opposite sign. All right, so far these are like the same thing kind of over and over again. So I hope you're not watching me do several problems in a row when you haven't done them yourself. All right, you get the idea. Go do them yourself now. Pause the video and do them yourself. So the roots of these are x plus 1. If I square these, I'm going to get x squared and positive 1. If I multiply these together, I'm going to get 1x, which is just x, and then I will do the opposite sign. So that is the answer to number 10. All right, number 11, I'm going to have a binomial and a trinomial. The root of 8 is 2, and the root of 27 is 3. So I'm going to have 2x plus 3. All right, it's the root of all of these things. All right, root. Now, if I square 2x, in other words, I'm thinking like 2x times 2x, right? That's going to give me 4x squared. Obviously, if I square 3, I'm going to get positive 9. If I multiply these together, that's going to give me 6x. And I will take the opposite sign. So that would be the answer for number 11. All right, for number 12, we're going to have a binomial and trinomial. Okay, the root of negative 27 is negative 3. So I'll have negative 3u plus 5, root. If I square negative 3u, I'm going to get 9u squared. If I square the 5, I'm going to get 25. If I multiply these together, I'm going to get negative 15u, but I will do the opposite sign. So I'll put positive 15u. So there's number 12. You know what? Let me just emphasize that for one more second. A common mistake that students will make is normally in all these other problems, if there was a plus sign here, then there would be a minus sign here. So a lot of kids will, on a problem like this, they'll set this up correctly, they will do everything right, but then they will have a minus sign on the 15. All right, like looking at these other problems, positive here, negative here. But you really have to be careful when there's a negative sign in the front because it causes this confusion. So just to be extra clear, the middle comes from multiplying these two terms together. So in this case, I have negative 3u times positive 5. All right, that gives me negative 15u. Now, like we've been doing everywhere else on this paper, we multiply these two together, but then we do the opposite sign. So because it's a negative 15, that's why we put a positive 15. So it is the opposite. It's not the opposite of this sign. It's the opposite of the product. So looking at other problems we've done, like take this one for example, it was just positive 2x times positive 3. So that gave you positive 6x. When you did the opposite, it was negative 6x. No problem. Let me find one with a negative on it. Slightly different one than that. Okay, so when we did this one, like look at number 6 for example. Here we had 5 and we had negative x. You multiply those together, it gave you negative 5x. Alright, and we did the opposite of that and put positive 5x. So that's what's really happening. Okay, now number 13. So try doing number 13 by yourself right now. Pause the video. Based on what I just taught you on number 12, please try to do number 13 on your own. If you have a pencil in your hand right now or pen, please get rid of it. Alright, anyway, we know we're going to go to the binomial times the trinomial business. The root of negative a to the third power is negative a. The root of negative 8 is negative 2. So this is my binomial. If I square negative a, I get positive a squared. If I square negative 2, I get positive 4. Now be careful on the middle part, especially the sign. Let me switch colors. Alright, I'm going to multiply these two together and then do the opposite sign. So what I have here is negative a times negative 2. If I multiply those two together, I get positive 2a. Okay? So I am supposed to do the opposite of that. So that's why I'm going to have negative 2a in the middle of this problem. Even though there's a negative sign here, there's still going to be a negative sign because I get a positive 2a once I multiply, and that's what I take the opposite of. Okay? Let's do number 14. Number 14. Okay, finally something slightly different, man, because that was really getting redundant. Please don't forget about the first step of factoring. The first step of factoring is always to look and see what is the greatest common factor. Here I'm seeing there's an x right there, but also there's something else. Off the top of my head, I know both of these are divisible by 2. So I'm not 100% sure, but I'm going to start off by pulling out a common factor of 2x, because I know that's part of it. Alright, if I pull out a 2x, okay, 250 divided by 2, alright, just to be clear, whoa, why did I divide by 3? I say 250 divided by 2 is 125. Alright, so what I have here is 125 x to the third power plus 64. Alright, now keep in mind, let me make a little space here. All I really did so far was once I decided that I had a common factor of 2x, I went ahead and divided everything by 2x. So that's how I got this. Now, as I factor further, I'm going to keep this 2x. Alright, it's not going to go anywhere. I bring that down. But this is the sum of two perfect cubes. See that 125 and the 64? Okay, there's my 125, there's my 64. So I can do this, even this x to the third power. So I know it's going to factor as a binomial and a trinomial. So this part is back to what we were doing before. The binomial is going to be 5x plus 4. Alright, the root and the root. If I take these two terms and I square them, alright, from the 5x I'm going to get 25x squared. From the 4 I'm going to get plus 16. 4 times 5 is 20. Okay, so I'm going to have a 20x in the middle because I multiply. And I will do the opposite sign. So positive becomes negative. So this would be my final answer for number 14. Have to go all the way down to this. So let that be a lesson to you. Please do not forget the first rule of factoring is to find the common factor, the GCF. Okay, I see the A here, so I definitely have A. This is not divisible by 2. Okay, both of these are divisible by 3. Just so you know, all right, I was doing something there in my head that some of you might not know about. I saw the 9, so I knew this was not divisible by 2. So then I was asking myself, is it divisible by 3? Did you know that if you add up the digits and you get something divisible by 3, then the number itself is divisible by 3? So for example, 9 plus 2 is 11, plus 1 more is 12. And 12 is divisible by 3, so I know that this is divisible by 3. All right? 8 plus 4 is 12. Plus 6 is 18. 18 is divisible by 3, so I know that this is divisible by 3. So both of these are divisible by 3, so that's what I'm about to do. All right, so I get 216. Oh, wait, we're not ready for that yet. Getting ahead of myself. Alright, so basically, my common factor is 3a. So I'm about to pull that out. A little bit more room. Alright, so my common factor is 3a. So that means I'm going back and I'm dividing everything by 3a. And I'm now seeing what's left behind. So far I've got 216, and those a's cancel. Now 1029. That's 343. And that will be a to the third power. So you can see, once again, I have a sum of two perfect cubes. See the 216 and the 343? Okay, there's my 216, there's my 343. So we can go from there and finish this thing up. Again, keep the 3a, it should not go away, and we'll do our binomial and our trinomial. Our binomial comes from the roots of all these. So 216, the root of that is 6. Alright, 343 comes from 7 to the third power. So the binomial is 6 plus 7a. If I square these, alright, 6 squared is 36. 7a squared is 49a squared. If I multiply these together, 6 times 7 is 42. So, oh, and that's plus. So I'm going to get 42a by multiplying. And we will take the opposite sign, so minus. So this would be our final answer for number 15. Alright, take a look at number 16. This is back to easy stuff again. Binomial, trinomial. The root would be 2a plus 5. Square them, and you get 4a squared and plus 25. Multiply them, and you get 10a. Opposite sign. So that's number 16. Number 17. binomial, trinomial. So that's going to be, no, not 8. I'm slipping. That's going to be 4x plus 1, all right? Because 4 to the third power is 64. If I square these, I'm going to get 16x squared and then still plus 1. If I multiply these, that's going to give me 4x. Opposite sign. That's how you do number 17. Alright, I see a common factor here of x. So I'm definitely going to bring out the x. Alright, if that's my only common factor, then I just need to divide both of these by x. So that's going to give me 8x to the third power plus 1. Please don't think, oh, these will cross out, there will be nothing. Anything divided by itself is 1. So now I have the sum of two perfect cubes. This x in the front is not going anywhere, so keep that. Okay, but then the rest of it, we're going to do our binomial times our trinomial. So this will be 2x plus 1, root. If I square these, I get my beginning and my end. Alright, 4x squared plus 1. If I multiply these, that's just 2x. And we, of course, will do the opposite sign once again. So this would be your answer for number 18. Alright, number 19. Okay, there are no common factors, and these are perfect cubes already. 343 and 64. There's my 343. There's my 64. So here we go. I can go straight to my binomial, trinomial situation. So binomial and trinomial. The root of 343 is 7. So it'll be 7m. Okay, the root of 64 is 4. So that'll be 4n. So there's my binomial. If I square these, I'm going to get 49m squared at the beginning. If I square this, alright, I feel like I'm going to need a little more space. Okay, if I square this, I'm going to get 16n squared. If I multiply these together, I'm going to get 28mn. It's a little plus there. So I'm going to get 28mn. And then opposite sign, so minus. Alright, that was interesting. So that's how you do number 19. Alright, if you've started copying off me, cut it out. Put the pencil down. Never watch these videos with a pencil or a pen in your hand. Get rid of it. Throw it. Chuck it. Common factors. None. No common factors. So binomial and trinomial. Alright, root. So that'll be m plus 2n. There's my binomial, the root of everything. If I square these, alright, square this, that's m squared. Square this, that's 4n squared. The middle comes from multiplying these two together. So that'll be 2mn. And then we will have to do the opposite sign, so minus 2mn. Alright, that's number 20. Alright, 4 problems to go. So there's a lot of them, but they're quick. Alright, once again, this is already, there are no common factors to deal with. So the root of a to the third power is a. 343 comes from 7 to the third power. And the root of b to the third power is b. If I square a, I get a squared. If I square 7b, I get 49b squared. The middle put a little plus there. Always plus. If I multiply these, that's what goes in the middle. So this will be 7ab. And then we need the opposite sign, so minus 7. That's 21. Same type of thing here. Binomial, trinomial. This will be x minus, remember that 216 comes from 6. So it'll be x minus 6y. Square x, that's x squared. Square 6y, that's going to be positive 36y squared. If I multiply these together, that's going to be 6xy. And we need to do the opposite signs, so plus. Okay, 2 more. There's that 1029 again. So remember we divided that by 3 before. So let's do that again. So both of these are divisible by 3, and I see that they have y in common. So it looks like the GCF is 3y. So we're going to put that out front. And then we will see what is left behind. So let's divide everything by 3y. Divide by the GCF. Now remember that 1029 divided by 3 is 343. So this will be 343. And then the y's cancel out, so that'll just leave x to the third power. Plus 24 divided by 3 is 8. And this y will cancel out one of the y's and leave y to the third power. So this is what we have if we pull out the greatest common factor. But then we will keep going. These are both perfect cubes, 343 and 8. Okay, 343 comes from 7, 8 comes from 2. So as we do this, I will keep the 3y. That's not going anywhere. Bring that down. But this sum of 2 cubes part, once again, I'm going to factor that as a binomial and a trinomial. 343, okay, so that'll be 7x plus 2y. Root, 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 root. If I square 7x, I get 49x squared. If I square the 2y, I get 4y squared. If I multiply these two together, 7 times 2 is 14. Don't forget your little plus there. So this will be 14xy. And then opposite sign makes it minus. All right, last one. Number 24. There are no common factors, so we can go straight to it. Let me just make sure. Yeah. Oh, you know, I wanted to put a box around that. Okay, so last one. We can go straight to our binomial and trinomial. Root, root, root. M plus 4n, right? 64 comes from 4 to the third power. So that's where the 4 is coming from. Now, one more time, if I square these, I will get the beginning and the end. So square this, I get m squared. Square this, and I get 16n squared. If I multiply these together, I'm going to get 4mn. And we need to do the opposite sign, so minus 4mn. And that's it. That is the last problem. So 24 problems seem like a lot, but we could knock it out in 30 minutes or less. You could probably do it even faster without all this explanation like I do. All right, I hope this was helpful, and I hope that you did these problems yourself. If you were copying off the video, please go back and redo the assignment on your own. Do not copy off the video. You don't learn that way. Bye-bye. See you on the next video.